broadcasting more of this kind of stuff, podcasts and Tennis Channel candid stuff, and all of a sudden he's semis and finals of true tournaments.
Yeah. Wait till you have our woman player back.
Oh, Bianca, I love that kid. She uses that racket that I love, the white and black, or maybe she's using the black one.
Well, are we ready? All right.
We are ready.
We are
CB.
live. I see it on Facebook. So here we go. Just a second. Give us about 2 minutes. All right. 2 and 2. All right. Here we go.
Hello. You are at the net. And welcome, friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave
But it's him today.
Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Shabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right. Thanks to our At the Net podcast girl. That would be Margot Carter for that bomb or bomb introduction.
That was a bomb intro.
It was.
No question.
And welcome, fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 66.
66.
66 of
66 WNBC. No. Of the At the Net podcast.
With AJ Chabria. That's you, right?
What's up, everybody?
And CB1.
That is you.
Is that
you
me?
are, yes.
Okay, and we're talking the great game of tennis as it seems to us. Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be one, Darian D-Mac McBrayer and Dave the Brain DeLeo from back of the house, who are not on the soundboards tonight, but it's me.
They've taught you well, CB. You are producer and co-host tonight. I love it.
Just wait till something goes wrong, and then we'll see what happens. So we'll see how long that works. But anyway, we are live tonight. We're not on Memorex, right?
Nope.
All right. Also, be sure to check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. That's basically all the communication sites the kids find popular today, right?
Definitely. Plus, Facebook and YouTube is probably the one to easily go to. Yeah.
We're live streaming both on Facebook and YouTube tonight. And also female, sorry guys, if you are a female and like to read the opening intro like the great Margot Carter, the bomb intro, the intro right there, then we're always looking for new female voices, right?
You bet. Even in a foreign language.
We might add, right?
Even in a foreign accent.
Yes, that's even
Love
better.
It. Yeah,
right.
That's good.
Well, speaking of bomb, we have a bomb guest and a bomb guest. I chose 2 words tonight because bomb in tennis, racquetball, and squash is really good.
Yeah.
But this guy holds a lot of different other hats. He also does skiing and snowboarding. That would be bombing.
He bombs down the hill in mountain biking if he wants to, too.
I'm sure he's bombed a few mountains, and he's Dave. And that would be the wonderful, great Kevin Kempin. Kevin Kempin, CEO of Head North America. There he is right there, the man, the mystery, the
Welcome,
legend right
Kevin.
there. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Good, thank you. Really well.
We're happy to be at the net with the great Kevin Kempin from Weber State University, right?
Well, you might be a little prejudiced, Craig, but absolutely the great.
He's so prejudiced. He's wearing his purple hat with the flying W.
And my shirt they can't be seen tonight, but it does say Weber State Tennis on it.
Got the big Wildcat.
Yeah, in honor of Kevin Kempin, who, my friend, we've known each other, since about 1981, 82, somewhere in that time frame.
I got you by a couple years. Yep. You were just coming as I was going.
That's right. Yeah, that's you started at Weber in 77, 78?
Yeah, 77 or 76, 77 through 80, 81.
And then I came on right after that. So your senior year, you graduated, then I moved in right after that. So I didn't take his place. He's a Hall of Famer. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Big time, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kevin owns a lot of the records at Weber, played number 1 singles, captain of the tennis team. Went out with all the cheerleaders.
I'm sure.
He was the man.
Hey.
Yeah, he was well liked in Weber State, what I call the Harvard of Northern Utah.
Yes.
Right? Those who couldn't get in, Kevin, to Weber State had to go to BYU, Utah State, right? Isn't that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Only the top people went to Weber.
Or the University of Utah, either one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Kevin, he's also done a lot of interesting things. That's why I wanted to have him on the podcast. We've been pursuing Kevin for a couple of months.
Oh,
We
yeah.
finally nabbed the big fish.
He's a busy man, and
Oh,
we're
my
lucky to
goodness.
have him. And
Oh,
folks
yeah.
at home, you're in for a treat. It's going to be a fun conversation. We get to go 3 sets with Kevin Kempin.
Yeah, I mean, not only did Kevin play college tennis, he's run head. Let's see, North America since about 2008, 9, somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, you're spot on. 12 years.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And this isn't just the tennis rackets. This is skiing, racquetball, pickleball, squash.
Yeah, so we have, you're spot on. We've got a racket sports division, which is tennis, racquetball, squash, and exploding pickleball, which you guys are obviously aware of.
Yeah.
And then we own the Penn brand as well. So tennis balls, racquetball balls, pickleball balls. So we have racket sports. We have winter sports, skis, boots, bindings, snowboards. We have a dive company.
Really?
They're the brand name of Mares. So a little diving. And then we have a licensing group. So those 4 divisions.
Like scuba diving?
Like exactly scuba
Yeah.
diving.
Really? I did not know that. That is something new.
And mares, that means the seas, right? In Latin, mare.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
No, obviously it was AJ that knew that. It wasn't CB here that knew that.
So,
But
Greg, even if he's wrong, I won't correct him. So,
his knowledge goes broad and wide. Trust me. I'm always amazed when AJ pulls out something. Like
I
that.
did go to a liberal arts college, and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm going to have some trivia.
No, but so fascinating that is it 5 companies out of that you really kind of oversee everything, right? Is that about 5?
I do. Yeah. So I've got, there's 3 of us globally that share about a third of the world. I've got North America, which is about a third of our sales. I've got a counterpart who manages Europe. And then we have a third guy who does kind of the Australasia part of the world. So the breakdowns, it's about a third for all those divisions, U.S. and Canada.
So you can go on the road just about 52 weeks out of the year if you wanted to, right?
In the past, yes.
You've really done it, haven't you?
Yeah, no, it's a dream job. I mean, let's face it, I am one of the more lucky guys, that can kind of combine his schooling a little bit with his passions, with skiing and tennis and pickleball, and I'm living the dream.
That's
No
incredible.
doubt.
Did you think you would have been doing this, back in at Weber State days as a freshman sitting in one of the classrooms there?
I had no idea what I wanted to do. Are you kidding me? This was not the plan, but it worked out okay. But no, I'm. It's funny how you end up getting where you get. It's sometimes a circuitous path we all take, and not necessarily a straight line. But I know I'm happy to be where I'm at, and it's been a blast.
So how'd you get involved in sports? Did you start playing maybe football or basketball? Kind of like when we were growing up, the neighborhood was more. It wasn't tennis, I wouldn't say per se. Or did you just play tennis automatically? What got you in?
No, the former for sure. I grew up a team sports guy. So I played football and basketball. Baseball is my first sport to go. But I played football and basketball into high school. And just by sheer circumstance and kind of luck, picked up tennis, really a late bloomer. The summer before my first high school year, before freshman high school, I was down at a tennis and swim club and just happened to be walking by the tennis courts, and a teaching pro kind of started chatting me up a little bit, asked me to come out, hit some. And his name was Bob Raynette. I can tell you that many years later, I still remember his name.
Incredible.
And, it just goes to show how things can change. And you think you may not be having an impact on somebody. And again, just started chatting with this tennis pro, great guy, absolutely loved it. I ended up playing every day and night, hours and hours that summer. I was living in Chicago at the time, so I went out for the tennis team. because at that time, football was a fall sport, basketball winter, and I sure as hell didn't want to run track in the spring. And tennis was in the spring, so I tried out for the team, and I made the freshman B team my freshman year by the skin of my teeth and barely made it, and loved it, and played 2 years in Chicago. The next year, I played number one on the team. My dad moved me to Utah from Chicago as a junior in high school. I dropped the other two sports, and they were building a club at that time, a huge club, tennis club, really close to where we moved in Utah, in Salt Lake City, called the Canyon Racket Club. And I basically lived there for 2 years. And I fell in love. So I guess you can start late, which is kind of probably why I did what I did with my boys a little bit, because it was familiar. And, you can start late. I think it's tougher today, Craig. You talk about the neighborhood kind of being all sports, and kids used to do everything, right?
Right.
Yep.
The specialization starts so soon. The money's so big. The stakes are so much higher than when I played. The pressure is just different now.
Kevin, what kind of mindset did you bring? I'm going to go in 2-year increments here, going from barely making it as a freshman to being number one on the team 2 years later to playing Division I college tennis at the Harvard of Northern Utah 2 years later.
That's right. Thank you, AJ. Appreciate that.
I think initially you're just happy to be there, right?
Yeah.
You're just happy to have some camaraderie. You're part of a team. My parents we weren't well off, and it's tough to navigate junior tennis, right? Even back then it was tough to navigate junior tennis, and they had no idea. So as I got a little bit better and started to think that, hey, maybe I can do something with this, you sort of change from happy to be there to upping the competitive quotient, to studying, to working harder. And because I was behind, I had a real underdog sort of mentality when it came to work ethic, just soaking up everything I could. I met a great teaching pro when I moved to Utah, a guy named Jim Osborne. Actually played a little Davis Cup for our team. And,
Yeah, I remember he used the headmaster when I was a little kid. He had that blue one. Yeah, Jim Osborne.
Craig, AJ's 2 for 2 now. You're not on the board yet.
I'm listening. I'm waiting for my moment. Let's put it that way.
So no, I think the change, from happy to be there and it being social to just becoming laser focused on soaking up everything you could. And I did have supportive parents, albeit them not knowing the junior tennis navigation. But yeah, it just consumed me, as it does a lot of people.
Yeah, kind of catch the bug and kind of catch the wave. Did you play intermountain tennis? Sectional junior tennis. Did you have that opportunity to do some tournaments up in Utah? Or did
absolutely.
You just, okay. So you went ahead and did you play any national events? Were you good enough in that time frame to push on into any national events, or was it?
We had just started. The national events were actually different back then. I think the only one that was the same maybe was Kalamazoo. But yeah, I had a chance. I played all the Intermountain tournaments, played a couple national tournaments, and just kind of ascended relatively fast. And, I think part of that, would I've liked to started younger. I mean, it's hard to whine about my life. It turned out okay.
Yeah.
But strictly from a tennis perspective, I would have loved to start younger. But I can tell you, having the balance of playing basketball and football and other sports, I think the mentality, some of the things that the other sports bring to the party helped. So I wasn't as far behind because I did play some other sports as a lot of these guys that started, out of the womb.
Yeah, I think you're correct. I think in our day, I had a sports background also too. Before about the same time that you entered into the tennis floor, I did as well, and made up I think a lot of the time just because I had a sports background, which I think you're spot on. From that standpoint, team sports didn't hurt us at that point. I
mean, even today, well, you take a bridge, McEnroe, kind of the same era, was a really good soccer player. Mm-hmm. This Yannick Sinner, maybe we'll get into later on in the podcast, but this kid was, competitively ski racing up until 13 or 14.
And I think I read that he just took a weekly lesson or two in tennis indoors up there in Tyrolia, so it's pretty much indoor tennis, and it's probably not a ton of tennis. And that kid plays with no fear. He looks like a skier coming down a mountain. The way he goes for a ball and then rips a two-hander, you're like, wow. He's like Djokovic, who is also a skier.
Yeah, 100% right. Yeah. Sinner has red hair. So that could be part of it.
That's your influence, pal.
It's called bombing the mountain.
Bombing, man.
Bombing the court, bombing the mountain. Since that's bombing is the word of the day.
Love it.
Or to bomb right there. But so you thought about pursuing, I'm sure, college tennis. Did University of Utah, BYU? I know you went to Weber like I did. Mm-hmm. Did any other schools around the area, region or country interest you, or did you?
I tell you where I thought I was going to go, and where I initially had thought of was I grew up in Chicago, as I mentioned, and we would always go down to Notre Dame games with Theismann, Joe Montana, go down and watch Adrian Dantley play basketball. And, we were an hour 15 minutes away from South Bend, from the Notre Dame campus. So my thought when my parents moved me out to Utah as a junior in high school is that I was a 2-year rental in Utah, and I was headed back to Chicago and on to South Bend. But I have to tell you, I fell in love with Utah. I fell in love with the outdoors, and ended up staying here.
Yeah, you haven't really moved as long as I've known you. You haven't really moved from Salt Lake City for the most part. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, I did a stint with another brand of tennis rackets, starting with a P.
Oh, I know that brand. Craig Bell worked for them a little bit too.
Right. Yeah. Back in the day. First, I had a cup of coffee.
Back on the East Coast for a while with Prince, which was, and we may get into that, was an amazing education. I was running the U.S. for them, the sales for them, when they were a clear number one. Was
that in Lawrenceville, New Jersey?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
He's 3 for 3 now, but who's counting?
A little higher brow.
Princeton. Just say Princeton.
You actually lived there? I didn't realize you lived there. I thought maybe you commuted back and forth.
I was back there a number of years, and it was, man, talk about an education. I was, the water was right up to my nose, and I was swimming. I was 25, 26 years old.
You were so young. You're talking about the 80s, right? Or late 80s.
We went through a leverage management buyout during my time. We sold the company to the Benetton family. It was a crazy ride. But, boy, talk about a learning experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it positioned you to where you are today to be able to run not only a tennis line, but several other sporting lines within the head brand as well. But so Notre Dame, you thought Notre Dame, and then Coach came and said, "No, don't go to Notre Dame. Those Catholics, they don't know anything. We've got the education as the Harvard of Northern Utah. You need to be there, right? Is that so? He sold you on Weber, or did you just go up there and like the guys, or what attracted you to Weber State?
Part of it was because I really was enjoying Utah, and had, like I said, had fallen in love with Utah and the outdoors and the mountains. And, we never told coaches, I'm sure you didn't, Craig, that we went skiing quite a bit because they weren't supposed to do that. But so Weber State for me was far enough away that I felt like I was doing the college thing, from where my parents were in Salt Lake City, but close enough that, if a good meal was needed or possibly a little help with the wash.
Laundry, right?
So, ended up going up, and, it ended up just being such a great decision because the school is a great size. At the time, it was 10, 11,000. It's much bigger now. It's probably double that, Craig, probably, right?
Yeah, I think we're in the 20s, something like that. It's fairly moderately sized, but it's bigger than when we were there, definitely, most definitely.
But it gave me a chance to play high in the lineup. So I kind of kept improving because I was playing guys that were fantastic across the country. We had a great schedule. We had a great travel schedule, and the guys were great. Yeah, so it turned out wonderfully. And I can tell you from a schooling standpoint, which again probably influenced things later in life with my kids, you really could get to know your professors, or in my case, got to know the president, Rodney Brady, really well because of the size of the school. So there was a lot of advantages that I think sometimes people don't think about.
Did President Brady come to tennis matches?
He actually came to a couple.
That is so cool.
He did. I got a little lucky because he graduated the school that I went to for 2 years in Utah, the high school. He actually graduated from, and I went in my freshman year and introduced myself out of the blue. And just thought I'd introduce myself and tell him who I was and what I was doing. And we struck up a friendship that lasted much longer than the 4 years that I went to college there.
That took some confidence for a freshman in college to go up to the president of the whole place.
Yeah, confidence, maybe not knowing any better, and we go together and it works out.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I remember President Brady. He didn't show up at any of our tennis matches. Only
Kevin's.
Only when Kevin was around. He goes, Kevin's not there anymore. I didn't need to worry.
Fellow alum of the same high school. I'll go watch the red-haired guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So he knew who was going to go places.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I think the same thing. What Kevin thought. I liked Weber because you did. The history department that I was in, I knew everybody, all the professors, and there was about maybe 10 or 12 kids in some of the classes, but they knew who you were, and that was really something that I felt was special that Weber provided. You went to a school that...
I went to both extremes. I went to grad school at a huge Pac-10, now Pac-12 school, 400 kids in every class. We didn't know each other. And I went to a small liberal arts school in Atlanta where I played tennis, and it was a very good level of tennis and a good schedule, and they knew it if you had to skip a class.
Yeah.
Because there's only 20 of you in a class, and the president was a massive tennis fan, which is why I wanted to ask that. He would come to every soccer, every tennis, all the time. So cool.
And you were you in the business department? Were you a business major?
I was.
Yep.
I graduated number one in the business school my senior year. So kind of a great combo of sports and business. And it was business administration, but it was in the area of marketing. Finance hurt my brain. I wasn't very good at it. I would have done more of it now with the job I'm in, but I've got some great employees. So,
is that left side or right side? I can't remember which side's the creative side. That's Kevin.
Yeah, part right, part left. Yeah.
You're a good combo. And when you said sports and business and marketing, and here you are, the head of head. This is tremendous.
It has worked out well for sure.
So when you got out of college, did you? I know that you did a couple of things. Did you think about what you really wanted to do? Were you going to go in like a business world? Were you going to be like a banker, or did you want to do what attracted you to stay in sports?
Well, who wouldn't want to stay in sports? Number one,
right?
But no, I basically stalled was my strategy after graduating. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was teaching a little tennis, trying to save some money for graduate school. I was going to get my MBA because I thought, hey, I can stall another 2 years and get my master's, get my MBA. So I was teaching a little tennis. I did want to see how good I was playing. So I don't know if you recall, Craig, but I spent the better part of a year out on tour.
I didn't know that. Oh, okay. So you went ahead and tried your skills then.
I did. I knew in my heart of hearts that I wasn't probably good enough to make it, but I also thought, okay, you're 21. When are you ever going to have a chance to do this again?
Sure.
And so saved a few bucks, bought a Eurail pass, and went to Europe, played the better part of a year. I went over with $400 in my Eurail pass. I came back with like $300 and it expired. So I saw the world for $100 is what I calculated.
Tremendous.
So, and you played all those little tournaments around all the little countries?
Circuits that had them sort of the fifth week. And Craig, you'll remember, I actually went with Barry Nissenbaum's brother. He played down in Arkansas, Jeff Nissenbaum.
Yes.
South Africans.
South Africans. Yes. So it was an interesting time. I came back, was teaching some tennis, starting to apply, taking the GMAT, and a guy that I was teaching tennis to at that time was running a sports sales agency. He had some brands back then. One was Alessi, if you remember the old tennis line. Yeah. Still rears its head occasionally around the world, but and he taught me into going to work for him, kind of saying, hey, if you want to go get your MBA, you'll be more successful in terms of acceptance if you have a little more work experience, which I bought. I bought the premise that he was trying to sell me. Then he gave me all the crappy little towns and all the little things. It was kind of like Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer painting the fence, I think.
He got you to whitewash that fence.
He gave you Evanston, Wyoming, Price, Utah, Moab, all those those places that had one account or something, if that.
Cody, Wyoming, Walla Walla, Washington.
Excellent.
All over. And during that time, had done a couple decent things, started doing my own thing, and started my own sales agency. Was doing, if you can remember these names, Yamaha Tennis, Asahi Tennis, later on Rossignol Tennis. And that was only about a year, and did pretty well. Some people noticed. And then the Prince job opened in this territory. And I interviewed with Dave Haggerty, who today is the president of the ITF, was the president of the USTA. He was at Prince, and they were looking for somebody out in the Intermountain area. Literally interviewed with Dave, got the job, and many, many years later, I actually returned the favor. He was out of a job, and I brought him over to head.
Awesome.
Wow, that's a interesting twist of fate there.
Yeah, many years later. So we're still obviously very, very good friends. But yeah, I went to work for Prince out here, only lasted 9 months, and they asked me to come back and run the country. I don't think they knew how little I knew, but so be it. Went back, gave it a try, spent a fair amount of years back there till Head came a-calling. And I've been with Head, my goodness, 25 years, which is unheard of in today's world.
Yeah,
that is unheard of.
1995, or basically about 1995, thereabouts, somewhere around there.
Yeah, real close.
Yeah.
Real close. Yeah.
I can add, I went to Weber State.
You know the math. It doesn't make your head hurt. Kevin, you mentioned Rossignol rackets. I've got a couple. One that was store-bought F201 that Vilander gave me, and Craig and I bonded over the Rossignols. What's your favorite Rossignol T-shirt, Craig?
Well, since you work for both companies, we're going to have to bring up that give me Rossignol or give me Head. I mean, so which one did you want to work for, Kevin?
I've worked for both, so I'll plead the fifth on that.
I love it.
That is such a classic statement. I mean, for those who are listening to the podcast right now, I'm sure you probably spilt your milk on that.
Yeah. Give me Rossignol or give me Head.
It was a double entendre meeting, and we'll just leave it at that.
Such a great T-shirt.
Oh, that was, yeah.
I heard this PG-13. You guys are pushing the boundaries, man.
We went PG-14, 15 there. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We'll leave it at that. But, yeah, that was I think that shirt we need to bring it back. Maybe Kevin.
That shirt would offend everybody right now. That shirt would not make it out of the factory. That shirt would go straight to secondary, tertiary markets and be ripped up.
Yeah.
That shirt comes out today, and I am out of a job.
Yeah. Oh God.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, so you start working, have this little rep group, and you go on to Prince, and then Head comes calling. Did they? Was it the German, the European guys that called you up? Who called you? Who
from Austria or here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the guys here from the U.S.
Uh-huh.
And we had just sold Prince to the Benetton family
Right.
through a buyout, which was, it was fascinating, and I learned a ton. My goodness, going on those road shows and sitting in meetings with guys financially that could run circles around me.
Wow.
And the Benettons, we sold it to the Benettons under the premise, as they said, you guys are doing an amazing job. You've got, 45, 50% market share. We don't want to change a thing. Months into their purchase, things really started changing.
Really?
And the writing was on the wall early. They also bought during that same time Rollerblade, if you remember them.
Yes.
And, a bunch of other companies. And you could just see what their strategy with the brand. And when Head called here in the U.S., it just seemed like an amazing opportunity because at the time, the Head brand name was golden, but their market share was below 10%. They were about a 6 or 7% market share. And at that same time, they were negotiating with Andre Agassi to join them.
From Donnet, yeah. This was early 90s, right?
100, exactly right. Kind of mid 90s.
Oh, mid.
And I heard they were negotiating with Andre. I called him up because we've been friends forever. My sister played doubles with Tammy.
Tammy Agassi, right.
Craig, you'll remember I played against Philip Agassi. You may have too.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember him down from UNLV days. Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew the Agassis, and I called up Andre, and I wanted to confirm that, in fact, he was thinking about this change. So I always kid, Had got myself and Andre. One was a little more important than the other.
I love it.
Same time. Yeah. So it made the change really interesting because when you have a golden brand name, they're always in the game. There's always the chance for a comeback. And I saw it as a real challenge. Prince, we were on top of the world. Wilson at that time was kind of a strong number 2 brand, and Head was way the heck down there. Probably behind a couple other tennis brands.
Maybe behind Dunlop, right?
Probably,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself on this because I want to ask this question now because did you you knew that it was on the canvas and they were counting about 4 on Head at that point, and what made was it you'd been with the number 1 company, now all of a sudden you're with the number 16 company, and they're counting, they're starting to start the referees counting. And did you have a year, 2 years? Did you feel like you had enough financial backing for a couple of years, or was it like, hey, I got to get this right within 6 months to a year, or that's it?
That's a great question. I was given a ton of latitude and autonomy. I think they wanted to swing for the fences. So for them at the time, it was a good hire to hire the gentleman that was running Prince at the time, the sales portion of Prince, I should say.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I had ins in every retailer, big and small. I had some credibility. I had a good brand, and they gave me a lot of latitude. So it was kind of on me at the time, as well as, a couple other executives. And knowing that we were signing Andre, who was at the peak, just peaking at the time. He had won 1 Grand Slam at the time.
92 Wimbledon he had won.
Fell to the knees, the whole thing. I think it was Goran, another Head player.
That's right.
And so he won the rest of his Grand Slams with a Head tennis racket. I'm getting ahead of myself now. And I'll tell you a quick story. I don't think I've ever told anyone this. Very few people, if I have. I didn't take a salary.
Oh, really?
My deal when I came over said, I'll come over, but I want you to give me, you're at X today sales. All I want over the next 3 years, so it was a 3-year commitment to answer your question, Craig.
Yeah. Okay.
All I want is a percentage of the growth.
Incredible.
And so they thought that was a great deal, right? We don't have to pay a salary, and if he grows, he gets paid. If he doesn't grow, we flop together.
Right.
And we really grew.
Yeah.
So it was a really good 3 years. And
the Austrians in Head were like, oh, that's the same red-haired kid who was a freshman and walked into the president's office and introduced himself. Same guy.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it was one of those fortuitous things that Andre came over. I had some good connections with some big retailers that gave us a second look. And it wasn't that much farther after that too much longer, that we were purchased by the gentleman that owns Head today. So we're privately owned. We're a fairly large company, and it's 100% privately owned. And shortly thereafter, we came out with an explosive line of tennis rackets called Titanium Tennis. And we went from a 6-7 share to a 20% share in 2-3 years.
Interesting.
And so,
That's
just
huge.
a lot of things hit and was pretty fortuitous.
Yeah, I mean, well, signing Andre, that's number one. I didn't know that, to be able to take that line, from titanium. I remember titanium. It had a different paint texture on it. It had texture,
Texture.
It had texture.
I remember
It had a
those
good feel.
TIS6, the S2. I remember all those titaniums. Yeah.
You can believe it. We still sell them today. Walk into a Dick's, a Big Five.
Yeah.
They're a little less expensive, but they're still some of the best sellers. It was that powder coated paint you're talking about.
Yes.
It's the texture.
Texture.
But there's a guy out at the club here at Bent Tree that still plays with one. And I went and got him one at Academy, of all places. I got him another
Probably
one. I said,
$60 instead of 180 or 210.
yes. No, I'm serious. I go, if you're not going to change here's. I went and bought him one. So I just because I knew he liked the racket so well, and it was starting to get a little oldish, and so I knew where they were. And that was 25 years ago, basically, right? That racket, or 22, something like that.
That line of rackets, the Radical, which is what we started with Andre, which we still do today. It's gone from Andre to Andy Murray to transitioning to Taylor Fritz. Those were that helped pay some college bills. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit pretty much prestiges. I mean, there's about 5 different families in the head lineup.
That's
now.
right. Yeah, Extreme, Instinct, Speed, Prestige, of course,
You got
and
Novak.
Radical.
You've got Novak now. I mean, anybody you want, you pretty much have playing with the rackets, right?
Yeah, there's enough variety within the rackets, and people would argue there's too many rackets and too much choice out there, but there's certainly something you can find for anybody, for sure.
Now, so as you've come across tennis, you did so well in tennis. When did you start really getting into the other sports? Did they start trusting you? It's like, oh, hey, Kevin, why don't you go here with the skis or
Great
snowboards?
question, yes.
Yeah, when did that transition take place?
Yeah, it is a good question. They actually asked me to take over as CEO earlier than 12 years ago, but with that came a mandatory move from Salt Lake City, and I declined. And the biggest people ask me, "You're kidding? You could have been CEO 20 years ago, 18 years ago," and it was just a personal decision. My kids were at that age where they were playing football and basketball and tennis. And my parents stayed in Salt Lake. They were here at the time. And I just, in the end, I just couldn't take my kids away from my parents. They were having so much fun with them. The kids were, 8, 10, 12 years old in the peak of their sports and tennis. And I couldn't make that decision and kind of break that up. So in the end, I was fortunate enough. Our owner came back to me and said, "Oh, to hell with it. You said no a couple times.
Yeah.
Stay in Salt Lake City and do it."
Incredible.
Yeah.
So you fly a lot, and you stayed true to your promise. I think of you as such a driven person, but you stayed true to being an incredible son to your folks, providing them with those grandkids, and an incredible dad to those kids, providing them with the grandparents.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would have done the same thing, and it just, I've loved everything about business, and I love the learning process. I quite frankly, I love the competition. You miss some of that, Craig. You can relate, AJ. You can relate. And so you sort of channel your competition to another area. But it didn't seem like it was that that magnanimous of a decision. It just seemed like the right decision. And, it's turned out to be okay. It's kind of similar when the boys were getting good and showing great promise in their own tennis. We were forced with a similar decision, kind of family versus other. And that was, you're seeing the top ranked kids at that point. 2 of the kids were top 50, 40, 30 in the country. And you're seeing kids ranked at that level, being shipped off to Bradenton or Fort Lauderdale or down to Advantage in California, wherever. And we just decided as a family not to go that route. So few people really make it as a living playing tennis, right? Maybe
Sure.
1 or 2 a year from the U.S., maybe 1 or 2. And so our end game for the kids was to enjoy it as a family. One of the things we always committed to is when we traveled, which we traveled a ton for tournaments, was to always see the city or the state we're in. So we would always plan on staying a day or 2 later to see Mount Rushmore or to see something in the Redwood Forest or to go to the beach in Boca, during winter naps, whatever the case may be. We ran out of things to see in Kalamazoo. I'm not sure that we did see it. So, I just think those life decisions in the end are just way more important than business and, all the other stuff that goes with it. So, yeah, it's worked out okay.
Nice going.
We've got a couple of comments here from some folks that wanted to reach out to and let you know, Kevin, that have been watching. Kenny Herman, our buddy Kenny Herman from the Pickleball World. Thank you, Team Head.
APP Tour, yeah.
That's right, yeah. Kenny
We
Herman.
haven't even talked pickleball.
Yeah, we can talk some pickle. And then Dan Moster, great show. Always had admiration and respect for Kevin. One of the best, enjoying reliving Racket Man history, great stories. I was a Rossignol player in high school and part of college. Still have the broken racket Strato.
Oh, Strato, yeah. I've got one of those too.
He said he had the shirt too.
The white Stratos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, no, that's so we've got some people chiming in. Just wanted to throw that out there. We're talking with Kevin Kempin, the CEO of Head North America. Fascinating, a guy who's been so heavily involved in tennis. But tell us a little bit about. I mean, you've got some other. I mean, you've got skiers that you have to be a part of as well. I mean, I'm sure that they want your time, and we're talking tennis. This is obviously a tennis podcast, but I mean, you're you go into some different sporting opportunities. Does tennis take? I mean, does skiing take as much time as tennis does? For your business week or day.
Yeah, it just kind of depends. Part of the fun of having all these different divisions is it's not the same.
Yeah.
Each week. And again, we may or may not have time to get into it, but it's been such a fascinating year because of what's been going on in society with COVID and everything else, that, for instance, really the last couple of weeks we've spent have been much more heavily oriented to the winter sports business with the season coming up.
Sure.
And trying to partner with the resorts and the Ski Industry Association on how we do this safely, how we manage this. It's getting tricky in a lot of different states right now because states are looking to now limit the amount of people on a mountain. So there's a lot going on right now. The snow's starting to fly. So, the last couple of weeks I've spent much more time on the ski snowboard side of things, trying to figure out if we're going to have a season.
Yeah. I mean, that's and you're right in the middle of how many resorts in Utah? Probably ski resorts. Are there 2 dozen?
I'm going to say 16, and I'll be within 1 or 2.
Okay. I was thinking maybe a couple dozen, but anyway, but at least 16, 18 resorts that may or may not experience a healthy ski season, because I know it's already snowing up there right now. Is there snow on the mountains? Can people go skiing if they wanted to?
There's snow in the mountains, and it's been cold enough that they're blowing snow. And I think if it was only up to whether it snowed or not, would have a pretty good season. I think what we're going to see on the ski side of things is, and we can get off ski if you want, but real briefly.
No, go ahead.
we're going to see more backcountry skiing, more cross-country skiing. It's more socially distant. It doesn't count on a resort opening up. Very much like the bike and actually the tennis and pickleball businesses this summer. Crazy growth and new players coming in. But I think on the ski side, it's really going to be, again, a lot of backcountry snowshoeing stuff that is socially distant and doesn't take a resort to open up to do.
You've kind of answered one of our second set questions, which is which segments of Head North America are poised to do well during the pandemic. If we can shift over to which segments are seeing shifts and how are your teams showing that kind of agility? Like, how are you leading them to show that agility?
Yeah. I think you have to have the groundwork and you have to have the culture before the shock hits. Like if you're trying to scramble when things happen, whether it's, a humongous weather event, whether it's social unrest, this pandemic,
right.
You're already behind. So our culture is such that I think we were already built. We've got 10 core values, and I won't bore you with them. I can run through a couple of them.
Would you? Yeah, we need to. We love this.
Well, there's 10 core values that we started 12 years ago when I was fortunate enough to be CEO. And I'll run through them really quick. And I think what you'll hear is if you have a culture built around some really core principles or core values, when things do hit, you're just more adept. You're ready to deal with them. So first and foremost, top of the list is integrity. I used to tell the boys all the time, DTRT, do the right thing. Somebody's watching, someone's not watching. Integrity is when someone's not watching, you do the right thing. So 10 core values: integrity, provide extraordinary service to all your customers, your consumers. Internally, take responsibility. And that one really applies today. But take responsibility. Fourth one is move forward and move fast. I think sometimes people overanalyze and the world's passing them by. And by the time they make what they think is the perfect decision, it's no longer a perfect decision. It's inapplicable for the time. I'm big on positive thinking. So think positively is the fifth one. Growth mindset. Anyone that's taught tennis, you heard that one over and over again. Have a growth mindset. It's not about what you do today. It's not about winning today. It's the process of growing and where you're going to be and be able to deal with that. The seventh one is respect the team. We all have our individual strengths. We all have our individual backgrounds and history, and that sort of matrix comes together. That sort of tapestry comes together in an organization, and have respect for that. I think too many people, and God, in today's society, and it's going to sound preachy, I apologize, but we're so divided. There's no respect for someone with a differing viewpoint. And you're stronger when you have differing viewpoints. So the seventh one is respect the team. Number 8 is compete. We're in this to win. It's great to have all the nicety, but we're in it to win. So compete is number 8. Number 9 deals with your question on COVID, and that's be creative. Be creative. And the last one, hopefully doesn't surprise you, and that's have fun.
No surprises.
My goodness, if you spend more working, more of your hours in a day working and being with your teammates at work and putting that time in than you do with your family, or you certainly do sleeping. So if you're not having fun at work, you need to figure out why you're doing that job, figure out if you can get out of that job, or if you can amend or change the job or the circumstance. But the last one's have fun. So I think we have this culture already, AJ and Craig, where we're ready to deal with this pandemic. The other thing, sort of different than that, and again, as a tennis coach or with a tennis background, it's really helped me. I learned very early on, and the best people I coached we didn't even talk about that. I used to coach up at the University of Utah as well, but coaching or wherever else, you can only control the controllables, right? It's cliche, but if the whole team understands that you can only control the controllables, there's so many things outside of our control these days in business that if you focus on those, if you obsess on those, if you get anxiety about those things, stress is something on the exterior. It can only affect you if you let it in. And I think our team has dealt with it well because of those principles.
Well, no surprises there, and I'm happy it's funny you said you were going to get preachy. I'm happy you did, because you're addressing my question and our questions about business and the sports, the business of sports. But man, you're addressing huge things like the epidemic of mental unhealth that we're seeing, and I want people to have all 10 of those. Whether they work for Head USA or not,
Yeah, so that's just good information for everybody. I was getting fired up. I was like, man, I wish Kevin would hire me. I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
That's right. Hey, I can be pickleball or whatever. Maybe racquetball. Not tennis.
Let's ski too. Let's do all these, man.
I'm not a very good skier.
Let's go.
I don't think if I have to be a ski instructor, I don't know about that.
I don't want to. Yeah,
that might be a little lacking right there. But I can play some mean pickleball.
Yeah, you're good.
I got that down. I got that sport. Do you play pickleball? Are you a pickleball guy?
I love pickleball. And, some people say it was kind of like the old deal in racquetball. Oh, you can't play racquetball and tennis because they'll screw each other's, strokes up.
Come on.
I think when you get to a certain level and you're kind of confident in your tennis, pickleball is just a blast. I'd like to go play some H tournaments. I'd love it. So APP and PPA,
yes,
ready. I'm coming for you.
I love it. We did the broadcasting for the Texas Pickleball Open, the pro divisions. We had such a good time, not just as occasional players, but as broadcasters of that sport. And I want you coming down next tournament.
Texas Open. Yeah, and then
ready. Yeah, I am ready to play. The tournament I want to play in is the one coming up. Hopefully coming up, but there's two big pickleball.
Is that the Tournament of Champions, the TOC?
So the two biggest ones are the U.S. Open, which is in April, and then there's the Nationals, which we also sponsor, and that's at Indian Wells Tennis Garden.
Incredible.
Incredible. I would think they would let you in, Kevin. I think you might be able to.
I want to call his match, Craig. Let's do it.
Right.
Sneak in, yeah. But to answer your question, I love pickleball, and when the pandemic really hit, and I remember this was the second week in March. Mm-hmm. I was actually taking a couple days off. I was in San Diego with the boys. They all had spring break the same week, which was awesome. So we were on the beach in San Diego. We're out to dinner, and that was the night. I don't know if you guys remember, the Utah Jazz were playing the OKC Thunder.
Yes. Yep.
And the game was ready to start, and they called it, and that was ground zero because from that day on, everything shut down.
Yeah, and who was the Jazz guy that kind of made mockery, kind of made light of the situation, got people infected?
Rudy Gobert. That's it, Rudy.
Right. He was kind of like, it's no big deal. What do we do? It's COVID. No, big deal.
And he was handling like microphones and it's like stuff you would never do today, right?
Now, yeah.
No. We're actually like 600 feet apart. We're not in the same room. We've got a split screen here.
Yeah. I can see the plexiglass too.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you.
But our business at Head just stopped. It stopped middle of March.
Screeching halt right when Indian Wells was called.
Well, so I was supposed to drive from San Diego
out to the desert.
Wells, exactly right.
Yeah.
And when they canceled that, I knew we were in for something we just have never been up against. And the tennis business cratered. March and April, the tennis business was down 80%. May kind of stabilized a little bit. We kind of started understanding the virus a little bit more. Things started opening up. And people, you guys, were so hungry for some sort of exercise, some sort of getting outside. And tennis and pickleball took off as socially distant, could be safe sports if done the right way. And I'll tell you now, fast forward 8 months, our business this year is up over last year.
Incredible, Kevin.
Middle of this pandemic.
Even with a March and April and May probably that were in the tubes.
Yeah, exactly. Our ski business hasn't recovered because there's so many questions yet.
Makes sense.
Tennis and pickleball, perfect, socially distant sports. And you guys, we've had a lot of new players come into the game trying and sampling.
A lot of them are buying the TIS6 at Dick's for $60.
Greg's pushing it hard.
Kevin, we talked a little bit about tennis being up. The other side of tennis being up and Head's tennis business being so successful with pickleball too, how are you dealing with supplying enough to meet the demand for this? Are there going to be, do you feel some challenges there, or is your 10-point culture handling it already?
Well, our 10-point culture is handling it here. Our factories are not in this country, unfortunately.
I see.
You know, it was really interesting because early in the coronavirus, it was, if you recall, it was over there, right?
Yeah, it was in Wuhan mainly. It was in China, yeah.
It was like it was a foreign thing to us. And what happened is all the big retailers, Walmarts and Costco and Target and Dick's and Big Five Academy, started buying out of panic because of the supply chain, because it was getting tough to get goods out of Asia. And so they had sort of this panic buying, and they just bought up everything we could sell them. And then things kind of cratered, but those sorts of retailers stayed open, deemed essential retailers because they were selling food.
Sure.
So our sales to those guys has gone through the roof, and a lot of people have sampled tennis that have never played. And so a lot of the inexpensive rackets have sold like crazy, a lot of junior rackets. Our ball sales are the best they've been in 5 years.
Incredible.
So, if we can hang on to these folks, get a vaccine, get back to somewhat level of normalcy, we might have a hell of a second half of 2021 and on into 2022.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
I've experienced a lot of growth here as AJ teaches around the Dallas area. We've had, the last 2 months, over 50 members join the club. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And this is not a cheap club to join. This is.
I don't know where they're coming from. Yeah. I'm glad they're coming. They're coming, but it's amazing how many people wanting to do something, and they're staying. The staycations, I guess, are pretty much what people are doing. Unfortunately, the travel industry, American Airlines and some of the airlines, they're not hotels. They're having trouble. I know that, but as far as what we've got going, it's great. I'm sure it sounds like what you've got going is great as well. So. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's part of the reason our ski business is really hurting right now and really challenged because of the travel side of things. And also the diving business is hurting because of the travel side of things. Also, there's no big corporate events. A lot of times there's big corporate meetings at these ski resorts. They throw in some skiing, they have their meeting. That's not happening. The local ski resorts, the snow basins of the world, Craig, they'll do well if there's a local clientele. Hopefully they'll do well. At the destination resorts, the Aspens, the Steamboat Springs are going to have a tough time.
The Deer Valleys, Park Cities, those kind of things that are just.
You know what? There's a tennis court and a pickleball court by everybody.
Everybody, all the time. Kevin, last few questions in the second set, and then we're going to go to a fun third set. Are there any future projects that we can talk about now that Head is brewing?
How many people are listening?
Millions and millions, actually. No.
Okay. So we have some things coming out first half. We have a brand new Radical, and it's always tricky when you have a franchise because You want enough familiarity with the racket that someone that is a radical player, which is kind of deemed the Swiss Army knife of tennis rackets, it's just
versatile,
balance of everything, right?
Yeah.
Good control, good power, great sweet spot. You want to keep that DNA, but you also want some improvement as we understand materials more and layups better, and we can use some different things. So the challenge for us when we come out with a new racket is, yes, familiarity, but what can you do to sort of improve upon it? So I won't ruin the secrets, but we've got an amazing new Radical coming out that Taylor will be using, and first ever ATP Tour Finals, Diego Schwartzman will be using.
love it.
So yeah, new Radical coming out, and number one woman player in the world has switched to the Gravity. We have a new Gravity racket coming out next spring, which Ash Barty will be using, Zverev. There's a guy using a certain black racket at the ATP Tour Finals right now.
That's Novak.
No.
No, it's Zverev. No, it's who? Is it?
You don't know him as a head player, but I'm going to break some news here, which I probably shouldn't.
Do it, man.
Who's the hottest tennis player this year?
It's Rublev.
You got it, buddy.
Yeah, that's what he's using. It's a blacked out racket, and whatever brand he came from, we know what that is. It is now going to be ahead.
Well, I can't officially say that. You said.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some new products, some new players. We have another big player signing that I can't even hint towards, but that'll be first quarter.
Awesome.
And then we've got these exciting young kids coming, man. Coco is just, when she can spend a full year on tour, can you imagine?
Oh, she's amazing. She like Bianca, she uses that speed. And you mentioned Ash Barty, who's definitely my favorite on the women's tour. We've got a fun question here. Are you going to do a reboot of the racket we all love, the head graphite edge?
Yeah, we had somebody just ask that question.
Wow. You know what? I remember hitting with the graphite edge, and it was a huge seller.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
We do not currently have plans to do a graphite edge. We did bring back a racket people were clamoring for called the Pro Tour.
Yes.
Remember Thomas Mooster and his Pro Tour?
I think Guga Kirtan used it, and it was that beautiful blue, and we all want those, and they're on eBay for like $500 now.
Yeah, so we brought that back, that classic hot electric blue. That's going to be available next year.
Awesome.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of new stuff brewing. Using a lot of new technology, we've come up with this very cool way to help the consumer. It's a racket selector to help navigate this sea of rackets on the wall. And we're working with IBM and IBM Watson to use their technology and artificial intelligence to really hone in on the right racket for the right player. And this racket selector learns as it gets more data. So as you feed in the data, and there's hundreds and thousands and 10,000s of people now, that it spits out the right racket recommendation. So we're really having fun with that. That's been a blast. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the sensor, which now we can put into the butt of the tennis racket. And you guys as teaching pros, or even a consumer can buy it, can download the app and see how fast they're serving, how often they're hitting the sweet spot, where they're hitting it on the strings. So
I love that it's in the butt cap too, because that's not going to affect the mass and the balance as it might if it's up where a dampener might be.
And we got that thing down, AJ. We got that down to the weight of a butt cap. So
come on,
butt cap.
Interesting.
So it's a net zero ad. It's like 8 grams or whatever it is. Brilliant. I was going to ask you also the use of robotics and artificial intelligence in the sporting industry. You mentioned some AI as a racket selector. What about some of the other divisions? How are you using robotics and AI?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest way we use robotics would be in our production processes. We've got the most advanced and the biggest tennis ball factory with Penn in the world.
Love that marathon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Pro Pen Marathon. I'm clearly not objective, but it's the best ball on the planet.
It's so good, yeah.
It's a great ball. But if you were to go into our factory, it looks like the Willy Wonka factory. We produce, if you can imagine this, 300,000 tennis balls a day.
Come on, that's every day.
A day. And we can't keep up right now. So the robotics we use, the way we pass the materials back and forth is just crazy. There are tubes going all over the place, and there's people smarter than me that run that. And then to watch a racket being made today versus even 10, 20, 30 years ago, it rarely touches human hands now.
Wow.
The way the holes are drilled is all robotics. Obviously the grip put on, the layup. It's fascinating. So robotics plays a huge part in our manufacturing process.
Do they still string? Can they string rackets? Can a robot string rackets, or does it have to be human touch still?
We're working on something right now. This is really giving some stuff away.
Giving the secret sauce, AJ.
How about a snap-in string bed?
Brilliant.
Someone doesn't have to weave the strings. How about having a snap-in string bed?
Yes.
You can snap in a higher tension while you're playing a match.
Interesting. Yeah. That's like the old individual. That was a head racket also too back in the day in the 70s.
String lock. Individual strings.
Right. Yes, that was a head. That was a head racket too. So you guys are just leading. That's very
innovating.
Interesting. Hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, we've got some goodies we're working on.
I guess this would be our last one in set 2. Who are the most interesting competitors? You're such a big competitor yourself that you've worked with. Murray, Djokovic, Bodie Miller, I know, is a head ski guy. Tell us some of your favorites and why.
Okay. I love that question because I think first and foremost, they're no different than any of us. So once you realize that, you can have some fun with them.
Right.
I will tell you the guy that I've seen make the biggest change. How about if we start that off?
Great ad. Yeah, I like this.
It has evolved the most as a human. It will not surprise you.
Andre.
He's gone from punk to global statesman. Andre Agassi.
Yes.
Yeah, he went
100%.
Yeah, he did a switch like a 180. Yeah, he flipped.
I've never seen anything like Karl Malone would say a full 360.
Even better.
So I would say Andre is the most evolved. This one will surprise you. The guy who's just the most fun to have a beer with and hang out with, Andy Murray. Because he's so surly, he's so grumpy on the court, and he is so fun. And I just wish somehow a little of that could go to the court when he was playing.
Andy, would you
he's
see
the real guy? He's the fun guy. He's awesome.
I mean,
Awesome.
yeah, it's great, Kevin. Thanks for shouting me out a bit there. It's I think you can tell by my voice I'm chuffed to bits that Kevin has mentioned me. It took only about an hour, but it's okay. Well done, Kempin.
Good. Wow.
That's not bad, isn't it? Yeah. No, we need to get Rafa over on the head, right, Rafa? Would you be a head guy?
Well, I am using Babolat now, and my Uncle Tony, Carlos Moya, they tell me I must use this racket, and I work hard, I use what they tell me, and I hit the ball like this. It's okay. But Kevin, we can have a conversation, no?
Oh man, I'm out. That's too good.
Yeah, he's 5 for 5 now. You see, I'm 0 for 0, but he's 5 for 5. Kevin, that's a layup. That's a slam dunk. Drop the mic.
How about the most unpredictable guy?
Yes, tell us.
Marat Safin, totally unpredictable.
Incredible. What a player.
He could be the happiest and then crazy. Who else? Most joyful guy. Can you guess this one? Most joyful.
Ooh, man.
Said his name earlier.
Is it Nole?
Guga.
It's Guga, my favorite.
Most joyful guy.
Oh.
Most corporate. Here's one for you. Most corporate to deal with. But it's a woman, not a man.
Is it Maria Sharapova?
100%.
Yes.
No kidding. 6 for 6 now. He's 6 for 6.
Absolutely.
Good stuff.
Yeah, wait, that's so.
She is corporate, meaning she goes through the channels and
boom, boom. I'm here to do the business. Tell me what to do. I do the business. I'm out of here.
No extras. No little.
Get it done, man. My time is money.
So where would Novak fit into this? I mean, he's got to be a.
I would
there.
say this. I kind of wish I could get in his ear a little bit more occasionally, because I think he's made some blunders. But in terms of just most curious,
Interesting.
very intelligent, and most curious guy, Novak.
He wants to know about his rackets, his strings, the weight.
In life. Just curious and intelligent about things. And again, he's put his foot in his mouth a couple times, but just a very smart, introspective person who has stumbled a couple times, and he's happened to come in the era of two phenomenal personalities with Rafa and Roger.
Yeah.
Hey,
But if you ask me in the end who the greatest player is of all time, that's a tough one. And he's in the conversation.
oh, I think so. Yeah, he's.
I like how you said about Novak putting his foot in his mouth. Can you imagine if he hadn't? For example, I watched his whole 3 or 4 weeks of that self-mastery project he did on Instagram Lives, and it was absolutely fascinating how, not just how curious he is, but how much he's already learned. Sometimes when you've learned a lot, you're less curious. Not this guy. This guy is fueled and fed by all this stuff he's curious about.
100%. And I think it's pretty easy. You think about these guys on tour, they're going from practice court to eating to hotel to practice court to hotel to car. And it can be pretty narrow. And I always thought, a guy a little early on in Andre's era, Andre was super curious and became more so. Guys like Jim Courier always impressed me.
Yeah.
Learn a second and a third language, that would read the stuff he read. And Novak's a lot like that. These guys could very easily, they could get in a very kind of tunneled world. And I love the guys that branch out.
I think Novak was pretty interesting early on. He did impressions. Remember at the U.S. Open? I thought, hey, this guy's got something. And all of a sudden, he stopped. Whatever it was, he stopped for a minute.
Yeah, he took a lot of crap from some people for those impressions as well.
On the inside.
But that's, who cares?
Not be happy with him.
Yeah.
No, but he was funny. And he liked it. And he's I saw his personality at that point. I thought, hey, this guy's got something. And the heck, who cares with all the other stuff that goes on. I mean, because he was funny, and that was showing his joyful, kind of playful side. And then all of a sudden he stopped. He didn't show that again for a long time. I don't know if he's shown it again, but I thought he was very introspective, intriguing. Kind of like Roger and Rafa. He just happens to be at the time when those guys kind of lead the pack. With personality, and he was showing some personality, and then kind of stopped. Letting us in on that, but hopefully he might be back with it.
Well, CB1, speaking of personality, let's roll to the third set, shall we?
All right, you got a couple seconds. Can you hang with us a couple more?
I'm hanging. I'm enjoying it.
You're so good.
I can pull up an hour and a half of people's interest out there.
Oh no! People are still. They're still. I still see them on there.
That's great.
Yep. All right, here we go. This is some fun stuff right here. All right, first band you saw in concert. First band.
Steve Perry and Journey.
Really?
This is back in Chicago or in Utah?
What a voice. That down at the old Salt Palace in Salt Lake City.
No kidding. Really? What year was that?
Oh my goodness. 74 maybe? 74.
Early days of Journey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They didn't even play in the main place. They were like in the annex.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could hear a band, I know you like music. So if you could hear a band, and you probably haven't heard every band that you wanted to, what band would you really like to hear? Let's say.
Who I haven't seen? There's two people I haven't seen in concert, and if I could magically get his Hootie days and his Darius Rucker days, haven't seen him in concert, and I've had the chances, and I've just missed it.
I actually just saw Hootie and the Blowfish. Bare Naked Ladies opened up for them, and Darius did. He's all over the place because he can go country and rock, and he did a Travis Scott cover. It may have been only about 45 seconds, but I thought this cat still has that amazing voice and crazy range. So big respect.
I'm just sorry I've missed them for whatever reason. So I would have loved to seen them in the old days and now for sure.
Favorite band? Who's your favorite band?
God, my oldest son didn't play much tennis, and he has his own band, and he's in a band.
Oh, really?
So so I kind of it's hard to say. Depending on how I feel when I wake up, I'll either just like go back to my 70s roots and Boston and Kansas and Fleetwood Mac,
There we
or
go.
I'll fast forward to some of the 90s grunge with my oldest son. Pearl Jam and Nirvana and those kind of bands. And I guess today, favorites, guys like Amos Lee, Alan Stone, Lucas Graham. You guys know Lucas Graham? Mm-hmm. Love him in concert. I'm decent friends with one of the Maroon 5 guys, so that's a personal favorite. Mm-hmm. They're lead guitarist, so like to listen to them. Who else? Leon Bridges is good these days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, totally different. Just depends on the day and the mood.
You didn't mention any 80s bands. He just jumped over the 80s.
He went
70s
70s to 90s pretty fast.
Right?
Yeah.
So no Van Halen,
No hair bands.
No
dude.
hair bands? Because you had good hair.
We had the hair. We had the hair.
You both did.
We got some pictures.
You know what's so sad about that is you guys had this great rock star straight hair. I had this sort of wavy stuff. I had to get the hair blower out to straighten it to kind of get the gag going. I was always jealous of your hair.
No, we're going to put you on. You had best hair. We're doing a best hair contest right now on At the Net podcast, and Kevin's on there. We're doing it by different eras. Oh, yeah. He's in. He'll be there. He'll be making an appearance.
Right.
So it's not going to be a write-in appearance, but I've got some pictures back in the day.
I love it.
Now, this is the interesting question I like to ask everybody. I think I know where you're going to be in the band. So, have you ever been in a band? Just out of curiosity, have you?
I am amusical, if that's a word.
All right. So if you were musical,
I could play tennis in front of 10,000 people. I'd love to give a speech in front of 10,000 people. If you mention the word karaoke, I start getting the frickin' cold sweat. No, I've not been in a band. I don't know how my son got the talent he has, but I'll just panic. Yeah. So no.
So no, if you could, okay. So let's say you could be in a band. Would you be the lead singer, lead guitarist, drummer, keyboards, or the bass guy? Where would you like to be in the lineup?
The lead singer for sure, but that ain't happening.
You'd be like Steve Perry or Mick, somebody like that. Would you be one of those kind of guys?
It's the common thing, right? Every athlete wants to be a rock star, and every rock star wants to be an athlete. So,
right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. First paid job.
Newspaper boy in Chicago.
Oh, no kidding. You had a little bicycle and you throwing papers at 3:30 in the morning?
I literally had a bicycle, and they had this thing that you strapped over each shoulder, and you rode the bike, you let go with one handlebar, and you could throw, and then you would throw on the other side of the street. So,
awesome. Was that the Chicago Tribune you were throwing?
That was the Lombard Lilac Gazette.
I see. Smaller town just outside the city.
My parents felt sorry for me after a while, so I graduated to the back of the station wagon.
How many papers were on your route?
Oh, God, 100 and some odd before school.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Did Mom and Dad approve of the newspaper route, or eventually they go, Kevin, come on, we don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go throw papers with you?
Yeah, they like the work ethic, but you're spot on. They got a little tired of getting up early with me. So.
Yeah. My dad kiboshed that. He goes, no newspaper route.
None.
Bill Bell said, no newspaper route. I go, come on, Dad. He goes, nope, we ain't doing that because it'll be turned into my job, and I don't want to do that.
Right.
What's your favorite movie, TV show? What do you like to watch stuff?
Yeah, no, I do. I got into a couple series here. One was recommended to me by my kids. Actually, they both were. And they were both Netflix movies. And I'll be damned, that's a little bit like crack, right? You start watching.
Yes.
It's crazy. So kind of my two favorites, and I think it starts again in January, was Ozark with Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Series, love that. And then I binge watch, just because I didn't watch it way back when. I binge watched and enjoyed it, Breaking Bad.
Very similar, actually. Can you?
Very similar.
I'm sure you're enjoying how Bateman draws a little bit from the Heisenberg character.
Yeah, I don't know what that says about me, but they're pretty dark.
Yes.
Are you breakfast, lunch, or dinner? What are you? Are you a breakfast guy, lunch guy, dinner guy?
I am. What am I? I don't eat a ton. I'm trying in my years here to enjoy food more. I enjoy wine quite a bit and will take my time with that. But food for so long with my travel schedule and, everything else, food has just kind of been fuel. So, I've learned to enjoy and slow down a little bit for a good dinner. Don't eat lunch very often. Enjoy a good coffee, but probably dinner now that I've finally become a little more refined and appreciate a nice meal now. So,
But you've been sandwich or protein shake on the go when you travel?
absolutely. Just fuel.
Yeah.
And that's kind of sad, right? I mean, it can be a wonderful experience. So I'm learning. I'm learning.
Speaking of dinner, all right. Now this is always a great question. I always like seeing who people are going to invite. So, besides AJ and I, we know you'd invite us to the soiree or dinner party. If you were to have one at the Kempin house, who would 4 or more people be? Who'd be invited? And it can be anybody from history. It can be sports people, not sports people. Who would be over to the Kempin house for dinner with Kevin and AJ and Craig?
So with the three of us, you're saying?
Yeah, you can invite anybody in history.
Do you guys actually have my address?
We do.
We'll be right there, pal.
We're coming over tomorrow night.
I've had dinner with these two and several times, and it was one of my most remarkable dinners, and that's with Andre and Steph. So
Interesting.
I would do a repeat if I'm allowed to do a repeat dinner.
Sure.
It would be Andre and Steph, because we have some history together. They're incredibly interesting. They're incredibly deep. Steph is a remarkable human, but she doesn't let it out very often. So that's cool. Someone asked me this question the other day, and I'll tell you what I told them because of what's happening in our country. And it prompted me to think this very question about who would I have dinner with. And I thought of 3 people, one that I've met but have never had dinner with, and 2 that, of course, I've never met. And that would be Arthur Ashe.
The best.
That'd be a good one.
Mandela, and Martin Luther King Jr.
Tremendous.
And I just, with the divide we've got in our country, regardless of politics, and we're not going to go there, but those 3 people to me impacted change as greatly as anybody's impacted change. And they did it in a way that I admire from my deepest part of my soul. Those 3 you could kind of put in a group. And so I would just be honored to be in their presence at a dinner and understand the commonality of how they affected change in such a peaceful and powerful way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, incredible.
Yeah, there wasn't any guns or anything like that. It was all words. It was all peace driven and just by the smarts in their brain.
Yeah, and MLK had a great quote that, you try to, and I'm paraphrasing, but you try to make change through violence or disagreement or hatred. You haven't changed anything. You haven't changed that person. So no change can happen with that approach by definition. And the way those guys did it was just, it's remarkable. So yeah, what an honor that would be.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
That'd be some good guess.
That's quite a dinner for 8. Steph, Andre, Mandela, Ash, Martin Luther King, Kempin, Bell, and Chabria. That's quite a group.
I definitely want to listen to Steffi Graf, because I find her fascinating, but you don't hear anything about her. I don't ever see, Andre I know a lot about, but Steffi was by far one of the best players in the history of the game, and very little is known about her. And it'd be interesting to be around her presence, like what you were saying, that I'm sure she opens up maybe in a more private type setting than she has kind of in a public setting.
Yep.
East Coast, West Coast. Are you an East Coast guy or West Coast guy?
If I had to choose between the two, West Coast. If you ask me about the mountains, it's mountains, baby.
That's my next one. Mountains
or beach, and he goes
beach.
Mountains. Predictable. I like that answer.
Yep. Do you like?
You got hiking, you got biking, you got trekking, you got snowshoeing, you got skiing. Mountains.
Mountains all the way. Yep. Sunrise, sunset. Are you a morning person, or do you like the late afternoon when the sun's going down?
Depends who I'm with as far as when the sun's going down, but sunrise would be my choice. I'm definitely an early person. Like, we're bordering on my bedtime right now.
I'm with you.
Okay, we'll get
but definitely sunrise. My job is such that I start early in the morning with the guys in Europe who are 8 or 7 hours ahead of us. My boss is in London, our owner. And so he's 7 hours ahead. So I kind of start in Europe, and I kind of then start picking up the East Coast and work my way west. So definitely early.
What's your favorite season? Do you like summer, fall, winter, spring?
Love spring and fall.
So like right now, Indian summer kind of,
We're kind of past it a little. We got some serious snow happening.
Oh,
so
okay. You're moving.
Good for the business, but if I could bring San Diego weather to Salt Lake City, I'd be a happy camper.
Favorite holiday? What's your favorite holiday?
We've always celebrated Christmas in our family. Has always been magic. So, you have those memories of kids when they were young, and the kind of the traditions you have, and Christmas for sure.
Now, would you like, like our counterparts in the Southern Hemisphere, would you think Christmas as a warm type, or Christmas as more like a traditional Utah with snow and that kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The snow, for sure.
What do you like to do in your spare time?
Ooh, spare time.
Yeah. Do you have any?
Well, spare time, it's kind of nutty, because in my spare time, I do what I talk about and add up and try to help engineer during the day. I play tennis and pickleball and ski and snowboard. Pretty average snowboarder, but okay. Love to mountain bike. We don't have bikes. We have some licensees who make bikes under the head brand name, but I live literally outside my door here in the home office is a place called Corner Canyon, which is one of the best mountain bike areas in the country.
Wow.
I was in Moab a couple weeks ago down at Slick Rock and some Red Rock riding. So of the stuff that I don't do business with, I'd have to say mountain biking.
Craig, it's your opportunity to use the word of the day.
What's that? The bomb.
Bombing down the mountain.
I can see him going whew, right there. I can see Kevin going fast.
I'm sure.
I think he's a need for speed.
Craig, it's I believe it's number 7 of the 10 core values is to go fast, right?
Yes.
Very close. It's number 4.
4.
He was close. He's 6 out of 7. He was almost there. He's almost 7 for 7.
-1. Move forward.
Move forward, move fast. Love it.
All right, we're rounding the corner here. We got a couple more questions. We're going to bring it back to kind of some tennis-related questions. What's your racket of choice today? I know it's got to be a head racket. Which one are you playing with?
Gravity Mid Plus.
Gravity Mid Plus.
I thought he was going to go with that experimental paint job on the new Radical, that amazing silver, and then his hair colored on the font.
People actually want us to sell the kind of surprise Radical racket. They want us to sell it as is.
I am one of those people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the Gravity. It's a tad easier on my arm. If I miss it these days, it's a little higher up in the frame when I miss it, and the shape of that frame is a little more open up at the top. So Gravity Mid Plus.
Great stick.
Indoor tennis or outdoor tennis?
We did have a decent fall, so given the choice, I'd much rather play outside in like nasty conditions because the nastier the better. I love seeing my opponent get flipped out, whether it's too hot or too windy.
I love it. You like the wind. You like the heat. You're good.
The nastier the better.
I'm with you.
Hard court, grass court, clay court, wood, basketball.
I'm having flashbacks of a lot of months I spent in Europe trying to compete against these dirt ballers.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Servin Bali from Altitude Tennis trying to slip around on the clay. So it's definitely not clay. It would have to be hard courts, although I would have probably played best if I grew up on grass.
I saw that great picture of you on grass wearing white on white, and I thought, I think he's an attacker. I could tell.
That would suit my game. That was actually at the Queen's Club. That was a blast.
What's your most embarrassing moment in tennis? Is there one that stands out in your mind? Is there an embarrassing moment that you might tell us about?
Yeah, and it's probably not that embarrassing, but well, it was at the time. I almost quit. So I was in Chicago. I had just made the freshman B team, and I thought I'm ready to try a tournament. And so, I had the tennis clothes. I went out, got the nice collared shirt and shorts now as I look back on it. But shorts. I had my wooden racket, had my little cooler, I was ready. First round USTA tournament, thought I've made it. I got beat 0-0 in about 30 minutes. I just about quit the sport. That was the humbling experience. I haven't got beat 0-0 since, but that would have been that was the tough one. It was the first one and the toughest one.
Mom and Dad, kind of talk you down on the way home, like it's not going to be that bad. Don't worry about it.
They brought me back. Yeah.
Did Dad offer you a lifesaver at walking home?
Yes. Do you like to watch tennis on TV? Are you a tennis aficionado?
Love to watch tennis on TV. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's nice too because of the time zone I'm in. A lot of these tournaments in Europe are now like the ATP Tour World Final, the NITO Final. It starts at 7 a.m. Eastern time, so I'm up talking to Europe at 5 a.m. Got the little tennis in the background. Life's good.
Great start to the day. That and a bit of coffee, huh?
We got the all head group tomorrow, almost. It's the entire head group short of Medvedev. We got Djokovic, Schwartzman, and Zverev with Medvedev.
What's your favorite tournament? I know you've been to a lot of tournaments. Is there one that stands out more than any? Not the one in Chicago when you were 14 years old.
I have been to all the majors. I think I've been to all the Masters 1000s. I may have missed one in there somewhere. But, still for sheer, if it's just a week, U.S. Open.
Did you like first weeks, that middle weekend, where they've got everybody?
Yeah, that middle weekend is great. I mean, I go back every year. It's the first year I haven't been back there. I was thinking about this today, and this year was the first year I haven't been in New York over Labor Day in 35 years.
Wow, that's a run.
Isn't that crazy?
35 years of going to the U.S. Open.
And this is the first year I wasn't back there, but I love New York. I love the energy. I love the rawness of it. It's just after about 10 days, I'm out to the mountains.
Did I take the 7 train? You take the 7 train from,
I did early in my career. I get a ride now.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite tennis player now, or maybe in history? Ever?
Oh boy, there's several that come to mind. I got to be really good friends with Bjorn Borg. So I loved his sort of iciness. I loved his sort. It's kind of like Dustin Johnson at the Masters today, right? It just like nothing bothered guy. At least externally, nothing bothers the guy. So Bjorn was always fun for me. I never related to McEnroe, although he uses head rackets, uses the Prestige now.
Mm-hmm.
Bjorn was great. I always loved Arthur Ashe. Very fortunate to have met him, and and get to know Cameron and Jeannie, his daughter and wife. So Arthur, Andre, love watching Andre for sure. And in today's world, I should have a more politically correct answer. So I'm just going to leave that out for now. Who my favorite player is today.
No, that's okay. That's your list. You can do what you want to. Yeah,
I got it.
All right. What sport would you have played if it wasn't tennis? I know you had
Basketball.
Basketball. Really? I thought you would have said baseball.
Basketball. Close second would have been football. I played point guard and quarterback through high school till I quit and just played tennis. So love basketball. Love football.
Point guard, man. He had some sweet skills, as Napoleon Dynamite said, right? You could dribble.
T-shirt, but yeah.
If you wouldn't been involved in sports like you are so heavily, what would you be doing right now?
Well, I'd be that lead rock singer.
Yeah,
man.
I can do karaoke.
Right. Yeah, there you go. You could start your own your band, right?
That's right. Oh, I'd love it. That'd be awesome. No, on a serious answer, I'd be a doctor.
Really?
For sure. Yeah. If I had to do it all over again, it's hard to say because I've had such a charmed life and I've been very fortunate. But I look back, I think I may have been an MD.
Interesting. Yeah. Is any specialty you would like to have, pursued?
It just always struck me as something as you kind of get later in life that there's a lot of good going on with that. You think doctor, obviously teacher, but yeah, probably a doctor.
AJ always says he wants to be a proctologist. So all right, here we go. Last question. Last question. This is always the creme de la creme. We like to ask everybody, if you could wave the magic tennis wand, you're the commissioner of the great game. Would there be a change or any changes that you would make? And if so, why?
Are you talking about tennis in general or the pro game? I'm not sure.
It could be anything. You could you're waving the magic wand. You've got the power to do, in the pro game.
Yeah, it could be juniors, rec tennis, the overall culture, or professional tennis.
I think, it's going to encompass both pro tennis and also grassroots tennis, I think. But this is not a surprise to anybody out there, but we suffer from too many acronyms. We suffer from these silos of power within the sport. We're starting to see some breaking down of those, but then all of a sudden you think you're making some progress, and all of a sudden now there's potentially 2-player groups, or there's, the stuff happening. So I think for tennis, and the thing that people don't realize, it's one of the few global sports. It really is. I mean, people here in the U.S. see football and basketball, and they're huge sports, right? Or even hockey or baseball. But tennis truly, like soccer / football, is a global sport. And if I could wave a magic wand, there would be a commissioner / committee of incredible people. And we would take all these different silos and try to figure out from the good of the game, and this is a huge magic wand, how the game comes together, promotes the game, how we market pro tennis to be the vehicle to drive more people sampling the sport at the recreational and grassroots level. So it would be to break down all the silos. That's for sure.
I nominate Kempin, Agassi, Stephanie Graf, and Guga Kirtan to represent us at least.
Let's at least go to dinner before we try that. That'll be our second job.
I love it.
Well, I was thinking Andy Murray might want the job too. You think Andy might be in there?
I mean, yeah, that's great, but I'm not sure I'm qualified, Craig.
Kevin Kempin, been a real pleasure and a real honor.
You're such a good guest, man. Thank you, Kevin.
It's
Take
been
care,
fun,
guys. It's been a blast.
No, you don't know. You've made our day.
What a beautiful show, and big thanks, Kevin.
Thank you very much for.
Take care, guys. Take care, everybody.
Yes, thanks.
Sleep well, pal.
Right, go to bed. Go Weber, Wildcats.
There you go.
Cats.
See you later. All right. Great show tonight, wasn't it?
What a great conversation, Craig. An amazing booking. Well done getting your old teammate or I guess, sort of teammate.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I knew him back in college.
Yeah, that's amazing guy.
Well, should we cue off with Jimmy here in a second?
Jimmy Campbell, ladies and gentlemen, here he is.
Right, so here we go. We'll get him going here in just a second. There we go. There's Mr. Jimmy. Thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 66 of At the Net Podcast with Kevin Kempin, CEO of Head North America. What a great...
North America. Big deal. That was awesome.
That was fun. It was the bomb, wasn't it?
He bombed down the hill in that whole hour and a half. That was tremendous.
We were going fast. I mean, I looked up and it was an hour and 40 minutes.
It flies, yeah.
So join us next week as we'll be talking to yoga and tennis specialist Margit Banyan.
Yes.
Yes. It's going to be a lot of fun with Margit. You know, she's got. I don't know if we can stretch online or she might have us do some posts.
We may have to do Zoom every day with her just to prep.
All right. Also join us Wednesday night because we do tennis shorts, don't we? At 8 o'clock.
We do. What's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts?
There's not a whole lot. That's for
two legs, 2 questions.
Right.
A lot of fun. Good conversation. I always look forward to my Wednesday nights with this man on Instagram. And then if you miss it live, we want you to catch it live so you can be in the comment section. But if you miss it live, it's on IGTV right after.
Yep. So also be sure to tell a friend we like your friends. Hopefully they'll like us. We like peeps, right?
And hopefully your peeps like us. I bet they do.
Yep.
So do it. Like, subscribe, follow, share, and share the love. Thank you.
Also get into our At the Net best hair in the history of the men's game. It's going on right now.
Yes.
We have the 70s era, the 80s era, 90s, and the 2000s. So there'll be 4 different periods. You can vote for 4 people. Then we're going to whittle it down in a couple of days down to basically the top 2. So we've got some people already chiming in on that for the 70s. So
we've got record engagement on that. People love that thing.
Yeah,
Join us, everybody, on that.
Yep. So thanks a lot, everybody. And that's the tennis news as it
seems to us.
Good night, everybody, from Dallas, Texas.
Good night, everyone.